Richard, I want to get your take as well on what you're seeing globally, and then we'll bring it home in terms of what the right strategy and approach is in this current market. But
Mhm.
what are you seeing as it relates to Europe and also, of course, China? I think there's been some significant disappointment in terms of their outlook, but they're also adding stimulus. So I don't know if they're going to come in and save the day globally. What's your view?
I think globally we are slowing, without a doubt. And when I look at the China data, this year, if you remember the story 3 or 4 months ago, was China was going to do a reopening, and all the growth was going to come back, and the travel was going to pick up, and the economy was going to pick up, and the Chinese consumer was going to pick up. And that happened for about a month. And you're now seeing PMIs are reverting below trend. Their GDP data, which I highly suspect, I don't believe they're growing at 5.5%, is not good. The stimulus that they announced, they haven't put any numbers on it, so we have no idea what the stimulus is. And so one of the things I like to do, and I've been doing all years, I put the China data aside, the official China data aside, and I like to study what are countries doing with their exports into China. What are you seeing? And the interesting thing is some of China's largest trading partners are reporting that their exports into China are negative on a year-over-year basis. So, I
Hmm.
don't know, you got the China GDP is 5.5%, exports into China are negative. I don't know where the GDP is coming from. So I have some questions there. And, the housing data looks pretty bad in China. And, you think about it from an international perspective, right? Given all the geopolitics that are going on right now, and the crackdowns on business or any kind of dissent that's happening in China, if you're a foreign company, you're on a board of directors of any major Fortune 500 company, and you have a choice between making an investment in China or making it in India or Vietnam or other places, where are you going to put your money? So I would not be surprised to see, and you're already seeing, investment in China is in a slowing trend, but I would be surprised to see it worsen here.
It's interesting as well. I was reading that the youth unemployment in China is significantly high right now, which can lead
Mhm.
to internal cultural problems for their leaders. I'm surprised though that they're not able to manage their economy and their situation better than what we're seeing. I don't understand why, just given the control that they seem to have.
Yeah, I think listen, at some point it's a top-down problem. And, if you're not going to encourage free market behavior, you're not going to encourage free market pricing, you know, people have to make decisions on how they're going to allocate their assets. And you know, maybe this is the point where the payback comes. I don't know, but you would think, based on China's aging demographics, that the statistics that you just cited would not be happening. They have an
Hmm.
extremely aging workforce. You would think there would be all the jobs in the world for people coming out of college, and that unemployment rate should strike you as signs of a major problem there.
Yeah, it really does. And we look to China, of course, because we think about the impact that that can have on global growth to the upside or to the downside, and specifically sitting in here in Canada, the impact that that can have on commodities, because the TSX has essentially done nothing all year, largely because of the commodity complex. Big part of it, big part of the TSX. What do you see as it relates to the commodity complex?
So oddly enough, we are bullish on commodities, but not for any of the reasons that were just mentioned. If you look at the agricultural sector, we just think that this global, not just the war, put the war aside and all the problems there with the Russian grain deal and other things, and all that farmland that's now has problems. Put that aside, and you look at these weather conditions and drought conditions around the world. Uh, we think that agricultural commodities is the place to be. And honestly, they were struggling all year. All of a sudden, it seems to be happening. And then on the energy side, we've gone from dumping so much out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and they're now starting at the very, very small margin, starting to refill it. We think that's a pretty meaningful delta. And so long as the U.S. economy is holding up, and we'll see over the next couple of months, we are, at least in the near term, still bullish on energy.
Hmm. Um, I'm curious as well, with respect to agriculture, do you want to just own a basket or certain areas?
I
And I've
think
only got
so.
10
I mean, I
seconds
think
left and
there's,
then we'll pick it up.
yeah, I
Basket?
think so. Basket's a good idea, or irrigation companies, things along those lines.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.